Pain, especially the kind inflicted by someone you trusted, can dismantle your world. It can shatter your assumptions, reveal your naivete, and expose your deepest vulnerabilities. And when that pain comes from a woman, someone you perhaps loved, admired, or depended upon, it cuts with a particularly sharp edge. But here's the critical question. What are you going to do with that pain? Because you will do something with it. That's unavoidable. You can lash out, you can retreat, you can demonize her, paint her as the villain in the grand narrative of your suffering. Or you can take a breath, step back, and analyze the chaos you've just encountered. You were hurt, yes, but that doesn't mean you're helpless. You are not a puppet dangling from the strings of someone else's cruelty. The moment you allow someone else's actions to dictate your identity, you've handed them control over your life. Pain is real, but so is your ability to rise beyond it. You can grieve without collapsing. You can acknowledge the betrayal without becoming its echo. When you are wounded, your first instinct is often to assign blame, to rage outward, to curse the person who inflicted the damage. But the deeper question, the harder one, is this: what allowed that wound to penetrate so deeply? If someone betrays you, it doesn't just reflect their character. It also exposes where your guard was down. There is a difference between fault and responsibility, and you must learn to embrace the latter. You were not responsible for what she did, but you are responsible for who you become in response to it. That is the beginning of strength. That is where transformation begins. You cannot climb out of a hole you refuse to admit you're in. The man who keeps pointing outward avoids the mirror he most desperately needs to face. The truth is uncomfortable. Sometimes the woman who hurt you simply showed you the parts of yourself you had refused to deal with. The resentment you carry is often camouflage for truths you're too afraid to confront. Did you ignore the red flags? Did you romanticize someone's chaos because you were addicted to the illusion of love? Were you so desperate to be needed that you ignored what you needed? These are not questions to shame you, they are questions to wake you. Because until you confront your own role in your own suffering, you will repeat the pattern again with a different name and a different face. Responsibility is not a burden, it is a weapon. It carves away your illusions and reveals the core of your strength. The man who owns his story can never be fully defeated by it. The man who hides behind blame will always be at the mercy of others. Taking responsibility for your reaction is an act of rebellion against victimhood. When you say, I refuse to be defined by her betrayal, you are drawing a boundary between pain and identity. She did what she did, but you will determine what it means. You will decide whether that pain becomes a prison or a platform, and that decision will echo through everything you do from this point forward. A weak man lets betrayal become his blueprint. A strong man uses it to redesign the architecture of his soul. Don't mistake detachment for healing. Real healing doesn't come from pretending you don't care. It comes from confronting the chaos and choosing order anyway. Your ego wants revenge. Your soul wants growth. You must decide which part of you gets the final say. The problem is not just what happened. The real problem is what you're allowing it to turn you into. Bitterness is easy. Ownership is excruciating. But only one of them leads to freedom. The path of maturity demands that you stop asking, why did she do this to me? And start asking, why did this affect me the way it did? Because the answer to that question holds the key to your evolution. If your identity is built on being chosen, then rejection will feel like death. But if your identity is rooted in truth, then no betrayal can steal it from you. You're not just healing from her, you're healing from the lie that your worth depends on her approval. You are the author of your response, and no one else can write it for you. You must stop waiting for her to apologize so you can move forward. Growth doesn't need permission. Forgiveness is not a gift to her, it's a gift to yourself. And it starts the moment you decide you no longer want to live in emotional debt. The pain may not be your fault, but the healing is your responsibility. And the longer you avoid that truth, the longer she continues to control your life without even being in it. Taking responsibility does not mean excusing her behavior. It means refusing to let her behavior become your personality. When you react unconsciously, you give her power twice. Once when she hurts you, and again when you let that hurt define your worldview. Reaction is slavery. Response is freedom. One is automatic, the other is intentional. Choose the latter no matter how much it hurts. You cannot outgrow pain that you refuse to own. Stop trying to escape the fire, walk into it and let it burn away what no longer serves you. Because on the other side of that fire is the version of you that doesn't flinch when love is taken or trust is broken. That version of you is waiting, but he requires sacrifice, not of others, of ego, of excuses, of the seductive comfort of victimhood. You are not a casualty, you are a creator. And the canvas you paint on is your own nervous system, your own thoughts, your own story. Write something that isn't dictated by pain. Write something that's forged in truth. Because when you become responsible for your reaction, you become immune to manipulation. You cannot be destroyed by someone you no longer rely on for definition. That's what it means to be dangerous in the best way. A man who has seen hell and still chooses discipline. A man who has been hurt deeply and still builds deeply. A man who knows pain intimately and yet does not flinch when it returns. This is not philosophy, this is survival, and more than that, it's rebirth. You will not rise by pretending you weren't knocked down. You will rise by choosing to stand up over and over again until standing becomes second nature. You will rise by telling the truth, first to yourself, then to others. And the first truth you must speak is this: no one else is responsible for how I live my life from this moment forward. That's the beginning of your freedom. That's the beginning of real power. And it is entirely within your reach if you're willing to pick it up. Resentment is a corrosive fire that offers the illusion of warmth while it devours your soul from the inside out. It whispers seductive lies, telling you that you're right to hate, justified in your rage, entitled to strike back with venom. But resentment is not justice, it's self-poisoning disguised as empowerment. The moment you allow yourself to be defined by bitterness, you become enslaved to the very pain you wish to escape. It's not righteous, it's parasitic. It doesn't heal you, it hollows you. Every time you rehearse what she did in your mind, you etch the scar deeper into your psyche. You replay the offense hoping for closure, but all you're doing is re-injuring yourself by choice. The man who cannot let go of what broke him will always stay broken. He may clothe his anger in masculinity, but beneath the surface, he's still bleeding. Resentment is emotional cowardice pretending to be strength. It's easier to be angry than to be honest. It's easier to curse her than confront yourself. A tyrant is born when a wounded man decides that control is safer than vulnerability. He doesn't heal, he hardens. And in doing so, he becomes the very thing he swore he'd never be. Your pain might be valid, but the monster it creates in you is not. Your suffering does not authorize you to inflict suffering in return. You don't earn dignity by lowering yourself to retaliation. You earn it by rising above the need for it. When you lash out to make someone feel what you felt, you've already lost. Not to her, to yourself. Vengeance is not clarity, it's desperation. It's what you reach for when you have nothing stable left inside. Every angry word you speak in the name of justice, but born out of spite, leaves a stain on your own character. You may feel powerful in the moment, but that's not power, that's possession. You're possessed by the past, and you can't move forward while dragging corpses behind you. It is easy to become a tyrant when you've been hurt. The shift is subtle. It begins with entitlement, I deserve better. Then it turns to bitterness, she never appreciated me. Eventually it becomes cruelty, I'll make her regret it. And in that moment, you've become something darker than she ever was. Not because of what she did, but because of what you allowed it to do to you. The man who punishes the world for one woman's betrayal is a danger to everyone, including himself. You can either use your pain as a compass toward growth or as a weapon to destroy others. The choice is yours, but the consequences are not. You are responsible for who you become, even when the world hands you reasons to become bitter. No injustice done to you ever justifies you becoming unjust. No betrayal gives you permission to betray your values. If your integrity can be stolen by heartbreak, then you never had it. It was just convenience. Discipline means holding the line when every part of you wants to cross it. True masculinity doesn't erupt in rage. It stands still in chaos, steady and terrifying in its refusal to become corrupted. The tyrant doesn't look like a villain at first. He looks like a man who was hurt and never recovered. He looks like someone who learned to fake strength through domination. He wears armor made of sarcasm, blame, and deflection. He tells himself he's above it, but he's neck deep in emotional quicksand. You don't escape pain by projecting it onto others. You escape it by wrestling with it until you understand it. And that's a war most men are too afraid to fight. You don't win by making her suffer. You win by becoming immune to her ability to affect you at all. When you hold on to resentment, you keep the wound open. You give her permanent real estate in your mind. She stops needing to be in your life because now she lives in your reactions. She owns your silence, your outbursts, your anxiety. And all she had to do was hurt you once, you did the rest. That is not justice. That is self-sabotage masquerading as self-respect. Every act of passive aggression, every bitter comment, every cold withdrawal is a brick in the prison you're building with your own hands. And when it's finished, you'll realize you locked yourself inside. No woman is worth that. No betrayal is worth losing the noblest parts of yourself over. You are not here to be consumed by anger. You are here to confront it and transmute it into wisdom. If you want to be dangerous to your own weakness. Be ruthless toward your bitterness. Be savage with your self-deceit. That's the only form of cruelty that creates freedom. There is a difference between strength and tyranny. Strength is disciplined, tyranny is reactive. Strength protects, tyranny punishes. Strength endures, tyranny demands. If your identity is built on punishing the person who hurt you, then your life will always orbit the wound. And that is a pitiful way to live, because it means she still owns your narrative. You are not a sovereign man if your actions are dictated by ghosts. You are not free if your energy is still tethered to her memory. To rise, you must let go, not because she deserves peace, but because you do. Not because it was fair, but because you refuse to let pain win. And letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means removing the poison and keeping the lesson. It means learning how to bleed without bitterness. It means being scarred and still choosing compassion over cynicism. It means refusing to be shaped by darkness, even when it's the only thing you've known. That's power, the kind that doesn't scream, the kind that doesn't seek revenge, the kind that rebuilds itself in silence. Most men are never taught how to channel their pain into progress. They're taught to hide it, deny it, or weaponize it, and that is why they crumble. That is why they turn hard, cold, distant, not strong, just numb. And numbness is not resilience, it's fear in disguise. If you think you're winning because you don't care anymore, you're mistaken. Apathy is not healing. It's the absence of courage. It's a coping mechanism, not a transformation. The real victory is feeling everything, the rage, the betrayal, the sadness, and still choosing not to become what hurt you. You are a man. You are capable of restraint that shocks people. You are capable of responding with clarity when chaos demands reaction. You are capable of looking at the person who broke you and saying, "You will not define me," not with your voice, with your life, with the discipline of your habits, with the strength of your choices, with the sharpness of your character. You want to be untouchable? Then master yourself. You want to be respected? Then tame your resentment before it becomes your ruler. Because if you don't kill it, it will kill everything good in you. Pain doesn't just hurt, it disorients. It shatters the architecture of who you thought you were. It strips you down to the bones of your identity and dares you to start again with no blueprint. When someone you love betrays you, it doesn't just break your heart, it breaks the world that surrounded it. What once made sense suddenly collapses into chaos. And that chaos is not just outside, it's inside. It's in your thoughts, your sleep, your confidence, your capacity to trust. But the chaos is not the enemy, it is the signal. It's telling you that your foundation was not as solid as you believed. What you build on illusion will always fall when truth arrives. You are being given a chance to remake yourself from reality, not fantasy. The pain you feel is not the end, it's the raw material of something more powerful than you've ever known. Every moment of suffering is fuel. Every unanswered question is a chisel breaking away at your naivety. You have two options. Let the chaos consume you or turn it into order. And only one of them gives your pain meaning. Only one of them leads forward. The other leads down, into resentment, into addiction, into self-destruction disguised as self-expression. Order is not comfort, it's structure. It's rules carved out of your own agony. It's wisdom forged by being dragged through the fire and refusing to die there. You will not become stronger by pretending this didn't happen. You will become stronger by understanding exactly why it did. What did you ignore? What part of you was asleep at the wheel? What truths did you silence because they were too loud to bear? This isn't about blaming yourself. It's about becoming dangerous to your own weakness. Because the man who transforms chaos into order becomes a fortress that no storm can break. Heartbreak is a crack in your character where light can pour in if you let it, but only if you face it, only if you stop distracting yourself and start dissecting it. Every tear you hold back, every emotion you bury becomes a future problem disguised as toughness. That is not strength. That is fear in a costume. You must grieve, yes, but don't stop there. Grief is the beginning of change, not the destination. Let your suffering carve new definitions of who you are. Let it rearrange your priorities. Let it force you to confront your false gods, comfort, validation, fantasy. When the person you trusted tears through your soul, it reveals how much of your security was tied to their presence. That's not love, that's dependence. That's not intimacy, that's identity outsourcing. Your task now is to become whole without them, to become more than you were before the damage, to become a man capable of standing alone without collapsing. This is not punishment, it is preparation. The universe breaks you where you're weakest so you can rebuild with steel, but only if you choose to look at the rubble and start stacking it into something new. You can curse the fall or you can mine it for meaning. You can cry about what was taken or you can rise for what is yet to be built. You are not here to be pitied, you are here to evolve. Hurt is not the end, it's the raw material of reinvention. The chaos in your chest, the ache behind your eyes, the silence at 2 a.m., it's trying to teach you something you refused to learn when things were easy. Easy doesn't educate, chaos does. And now, you're enrolled in the school of your own becoming. When you feel broken, it's because your old identity can no longer contain the truth of who you're meant to be. The shell is cracked. The lie has dissolved. You were never supposed to stay the same. Growth begins the moment you stop mourning who you were and start building who you could become. You want revenge? Become someone so composed, so insightful, so intentional that no one like her could ever enter your life again. Not because you're guarded, but because you're evolved. Because you've raised your standards beyond recognition. Every hour spent analyzing the pain instead of avoiding it moves you closer to clarity. You are not here to escape your emotions, you're here to study them, to map their origins, to draw conclusions. Pain is chaos, but your interpretation of it is where order is born. Chaos says you're lost. Order says, then find yourself. Chaos says you've been broken. Order replies, then rebuild with precision. That's how greatness is born, not from perfection, but from choosing meaning over misery. Stop asking why it happened to you and start asking what it's trying to awaken in you. Life does not test the indifferent, it tests the capable. It breaks down the man it wants to see rise higher, and the only way out is through the memories, through the anger, through the shame, not around it, not past it, through it. That's where the gold is buried. Under everything you tried not to feel. You dig by telling the truth. You dig by owning your role. You dig by walking through the wreckage with your eyes open and your fists unclenched. When you put order into your soul, you become unshakable. You stop needing apologies. You stop fantasizing about closure. You stop assigning her words more power than your actions. You become the architect of your own reality. You learn to draw boundaries that don't need to be screamed. You learn to lead yourself in silence, without anyone watching, without anyone applauding. You stop performing healing and start embodying it. You make your pain work for you, not against you. That is the essence of masculine transformation, taking chaos and forging it into code. The man who transforms hurt into order becomes terrifying in the best way. He becomes sharp with vision, unwavering in principle, immune to manipulation, because he has confronted the worst and refused to be destroyed, not just survived, transcended. And every time you feel the urge to collapse, remember That's the old you begging not to be left behind. Let him go. The boy who needed her to feel whole has no place in the man who chooses structure over suffering. She broke the illusion. Now you get to build the truth. She exposed the wound. Now you get to create the medicine. Nothing changes until you look directly into the abyss and choose to walk through it with eyes wide open. Nothing improves until you accept that chaos is not your enemy, it's your greatest opportunity. You are being sculpted, not shattered, refined, not rejected. And it all begins the moment you stop asking to be saved and start becoming the one who builds the bridge across the storm. So what's the smartest way to handle a woman who hurt you? It's not by collapsing into despair. It's not by clinging to resentment. It's not by seeking revenge or retreating into apathy. It's by becoming more dangerous, not in destruction, but in discipline. More grounded, more structured, more aware. It's by facing the part of you that allowed her to become your world and reclaiming the throne of your own mind. It's by holding yourself accountable, not for what she did, but for how you rise from it. You don't win by proving her wrong. You win by proving to yourself that nothing outside of you can break the man who has rebuilt himself from ashes with order and truth. Pain is not your enemy, it's the raw material of your future strength. Let it sharpen you, let it inform you, let it demand more from you than comfort ever could. Because you are not here to remain the same. You are here to transform. So carry the scar, not the story. Walk forward with your eyes open and your soul clean. Don't become smaller because of what happened. Become so precise, so principled, so powerful that chaos itself bows when it meets your gaze. That is how a man handles a woman who hurt him, with courage, with order, with unshakable truth. Not for her, for the man he refuses not to become.